allow me to introduce to you my leader, Mr. Gino Blefari.
Thank you, Teresa. That was we should give her a hand because good thing I'm teaching time management because I have no time left after that great intro. Any case, great to be here. I think it's either my third or fourth year in a row that I've had the privilege of being up here, and it looks like this time I'm going to give you a takeaway more on time management, but really it's on managing yourself, and hopefully you'll get a takeaway on this that can help you grow your business. So let's get right into it. And couple of things, because I know this is not the most exciting. I'm glad we had such great stuff before me. This is not the most exciting topic here, but here's one of my favorite quotes. To know and not to do is really not to know. So everything I tell you today on time management, you might say, I heard that, you know, but you got to ask yourself if you're applying the discipline to actually put that in to what you do. And the other one is people need to be reminded more often than they need to be instructed, and that's what we're going to do today. So I think the first thing I have for you is, and Wayne, congratulations there, partner. Great job. Proud of you. Let's just see what we got here. I think we've got a little video.
Imagine there is a bank that credits your account each morning with $86,400. It carries over no balance from day to day, and every evening it deletes whatever part of the balance you failed to use during that day. What would you do? Draw out every cent. Each one of us has such a bank. It's called time. Every morning it credits you with 86,400 seconds. And every night it writes off as lost whatever you have failed to invest wisely. It carries over no balance. It allows no overdraft. Each day it opens a new account for you. And if you fail to use the day's deposit, the loss is yours. There is no going back. There is no drawing against the tomorrow. You must live in the present on today's deposit, invested in every opportunity. The clock is running. You've got to make the most of today, right here, right now.
Right here, right now, 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 right here, right now.
To realize the value of 1 year, ask a student who failed a grade. To realize the value of 1 month, ask a mother who gave birth to a premature baby. To realize the value of 1 week, ask the editor of a weekly newspaper. To realize the value of 1 hour, ask a person who just missed a train. To realize the value of 1 second, ask a person who narrowly avoided an accident. To realize the value of 1 millisecond, ask the person who took the silver medal in the Olympics. Time waits for no one. Follow up every lead. Make every second count. Always be closing. Every opportunity missed equals money lost. Remember, yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. Today is a gift. That's why it's called the present.
Okay, so that's a little warm-up for you to get you into the time management mood, if there is such a thing as a time management mood. You know, you've got a little flyer, a little handout, and on that handout, you know, you can take some notes, And I know you don't want to take notes, you've heard it all before, whatever, but I promise you, if you take some notes, this will, the next 40 minutes or so, have an impact on your business. First thing that I have in here is for time management, because really it's the management of yourself. And I spoke about this in the past, I think even to this group, but have a good morning routine. And my morning routine starts out with my MEDS. MEDS is an acronym for meditation, exercise, diet, and sleep. Keystone habits that create small wins. So for time management of managing yourself, you've got to have these keystone habits that create these small wins, because small wins are exactly what they sound like. And are part of keystone habits make huge body of impact on you, because once you do the small win, forces are set in motion to create another small win and another small win, and then eventually you believe you can do bigger things there. So that's meditation, exercise, diet, sleep. Pretty simple. All right, so we're going to go through some points right now. Here's the first one. As you go through these points on time management, don't think about whether you've heard them before. Think about whether you're applying the discipline to implement them. Now, I'm going to give you about 36 of them, so I wouldn't try to do all 36 tonight. What I would do, you're in October, and this is another little point for you here, being in October. Most real estate companies, in fact, all of them, and real estate agents, for that matter, most of them, have a cash flow problem in January and February. And why? Because real estate works on a 90-day cycle. So what you do 90 days before it does that. So what I would always tell you is think of October 1 as the starting of your new year and get all these things in place, and you'll have the best January and February that you've ever had. But what I also want you to do is we'll take these 36 points, and then what I might think of like, okay, what are my top 3 or 4 for October, and put them in October. And then take the next 4 and put them in November, right on down the line. In 8 months, you will have incorporated all of them. But every time I've talked about this, I haven't talked about time management for quite a while, but back when I had Intero, every 3 weeks through new agent training, I'd do time management, and I'd find myself slightly better, more efficient right after that. So hopefully the same thing happens to you. The second thing is there are fundamental steps to great time management. Put these steps into practice daily, and you won't believe how much you can accomplish in a regular workday. It will stun you if you work a plan like what we're going to be showing you, how much more you get done. Here's a great one for you. Email's there for your convenience, and if it's not convenient, don't answer it. Now, be careful with that one a little bit, but some of us may let email kind of like wreck and control your whole day. And now, because people get so many emails, people aren't even paying attention that well to emails. So just be aware of that. Here's what I would do. Now, this is my Intero office back probably in 2013 when I still was there in Intero. And one of the ways I managed my email, and I made sure everybody in my company, everybody that knew me, this is what I did. So they know if they needed to get me, they'd send me a text, or they'd give me a call, or they'd text Deetra, my admin. But every day at 4 o'clock, I did email. It was in my schedule. Deetra sat at my desk. We had it's almost like a pilot, co-pilot thing. She sat at my desk, my admin. I stood at my stand-up station, and we would go through email. Because most of the things that I need to know, she needed to know, and she can type 100 words per minute. I can't. So I would just bark out the answer to the email, and it would go off. But then every single day, I was able to answer my email at 4 o'clock, and then it wouldn't be disrupting me throughout the entire day. They knew, got to get hold of me, text me, call me. But email, I'm going to answer at 4 o'clock. I had the privilege of having Deetra be able to monitor my email too. So if there was something tremendously important, I could grab. Okay, here's another rule on email. If you touch it, take action. Don't leave it in there. Just take action and then get rid of it. If you spend 15 minutes per day to revisit, readdress, or reread documents or emails, you'll waste 97, can you believe it, 97 hours per year where no action is taken. Again, as things start to scale, you can be amazed on how much, 97 hours, that's like, 2 weeks vacation. The key to great email management is institute a company policy that insists on very descriptive, this is important, subject lines for all emails. How many of you tried to find an email and you can't find it because the subject line is some older email, right? So all of that takes time. So when the subject of the email changes, the subject line on the email also changes, and it's critical. It's critical that that happens. Number 8. It's probably the most important thing. If someone asks me, everybody has different opinions on what makes you successful in real estate. If somebody asks me, what makes a realtor successful? I don't, Alan Dalton might say the words that they choose. Someone might say how much they prospect or whatever they would do. I would always say this, it's your ability to stay on your schedule. So if it's not in your schedule, it doesn't exist. One of the other things that I did, and Wayne, you probably remember this, I taught at De Anza College for like 25 years. So every Monday night from 6 to 10 o'clock, I'd either be teaching real estate principles, real estate practices, or professional selling. Those were the 3 core classes that I taught. I can remember I would do this to the students because it helps them being a student there. And I remember one night, right when I came home, and usually I'm one of these, I go to bed early, okay? I'm gonna go to bed at 9 o'clock. But on the school night from 6 to 10 where I took the class, I'd come home a little bit wound up. And so I'd usually go to the TV to calm down, and I'd look at any shows we recorded. And we record Modern Family. Anybody familiar with that show, Modern Family? It's kind of a cool show, right? And I just got done teaching time management. I just started talking about the importance of being in your schedule. And here's what played on the TV. So I said, I got to put this clip. I got to get this clip. Here's the importance of a schedule. If it's not in your schedule, it doesn't exist.
Luke just shot me. They're only plastic BBs.
Buddy, uncool.
That's it? No. The agreement was that if he shoots someone, you shoot him.
He's got a birthday party.
You can shoot him afterwards. He'll be home at 2.
I can't shoot him at 2. I'm showing a house at 2.
What about 3?
No, he's got a soccer game at 3, and then we gotta leave for that dinner at 5. 4:15. You could shoot him at 4:15.
Yeah, I guess that works for me.
Shoot, Luke.
Sorry, dude. It's on the calendar.
Pretty good. Now I'm going to click backwards because because you can see it again anyway, and it's just better with that. So here, the point was, if it's not in your schedule, it doesn't exist. And this was what a perfect example. So let's see if we can get it 2 times in a row.
Luke just shot me. They're only plastic BBs.
Buddy, uncool.
That's it? No. The agreement was that if he shoots someone, you shoot him.
He's got a birthday party.
You can shoot him afterwards. He'll be home at 2.
I can't shoot him at 2. I'm showing a house at 2.
What about 3?
No, he's got a soccer game at 3, and then we gotta leave for that dinner at 5. 4:15. You could shoot him at 4:15.
Yeah, I guess that works for me.
Shoot, Luke.
Sorry, dude. It's on the calendar.
Okay? So, I mean, it's just perfect. If it's not in your schedule, it doesn't exist. And I thought, wow, how did that kind of like happen? I just got done talking for, those poor guys, they got 4 hours of this. They got 63 points and all sorts of other stories. You get the calm down version. Okay, here's another one. Keeping a list will double your productivity right away. And when I say, how many of you work from a list? Everybody raises their hand, right? And then I say, hey, okay, great, you work from a list. Let's see your list today. Oh, I don't have one today. So this means working from a list every day. When you have a long list, though, here's the problem. When you have a long list, you generally do the easier, less productive tasks just to trim down the list. And then at the end of the day, you find the most important things on the list didn't get accomplished because they're the most time-consuming or both, right? So that's not so good. Not so good to have that list. But even myself, I'll make this long list. In fact, the great thing that I do is, Jeff, I would work from a journal, and that list would be in my journal, everything that I was doing that day, and then I can go back on a shelf, pull out 1991, and see what I did on October 4th. It's kind of cool with that. Right. So how do we get around that? Here's how you get around that. In fact, before you do that, if you want to find out about lists, okay, this is a great book. It was written by a doctor on checklists and the importance of checklists. And he's a medical doctor, he's a surgeon, and so many crazy things have happened over time in surgeries. As you know, like I had a membrane on my left eye, and so I had the membrane scraped off my left eye, and they said you would develop a cataract. Sure enough, I got a cataract. So then I really couldn't see. Right, I went from like 2250 to 2500 with this cataract. And so they came in and they had this whole little system of what they did. They must ask me 5 times what eye it was, when it was. Then the doctor came in, asked me the exact same question, and made a little mark on my eye. Well, this checklist manifesto talks about how the medical field has improved on what they do based on working off this list. And they had an interview in there with Sully. You'll remember Sully. He's the guy that landed that Airbus A320 on the Hudson River. And it's talking about that, and he was talking about how he was such a great pilot, and he was a glider pilot at one time, and he knew exactly what to do and how to do it. And, you know, there's a movie and the whole thing on it. But when they interviewed Sully, he said when they took off on the plane, the co-pilot was doing the takeoff, and as soon as those geese went into the engines and they lost both engines, he took over the controls, and the co-pilot went to the list, the checklist that they had, what happens during takeoff when both engines go off. And they went down that list and down that list and down that list. And I think about number 8 on that list was you come over the loudspeaker and let the passengers know what happened, opposed to, you know, could you imagine if that was number 1 on the list? You'd be, holy shit, we just lost both engines, right? But by the time it was the 8, it got to move down. So the checklist manifesto is great on lists. But let's get back to the long list. Here's how you fix that long list. The key to being productive is stick to the 7 most important things that you need to get done that day. Now it can be anywhere between 5 and 7. It doesn't really matter, but a small amount that you would do, the 7. And so here's the rule. List the 7 most important things you need to do to get done that day, and make sure they get completed. Okay? So your big long list, over here, your top 7. Here's the important thing. Maybe put a star by number 13. Just determine the amount of time that you'll dedicate to each task. This is an important step to make sure that the 7 items on your list can actually be accomplished. But here's also why it's important. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Parkinson's law. Okay? Parkinson's law is work expands or contracts to fit the time allotted. So the key there is if you have a task that's going to take 30 minutes, you put 30 minutes by it and you try to finish it in 30 minutes. Day won't go perfectly, so you don't pad the time allotted to do the task. You pad a buffer in your day, but you try to finish the task in the allotted time. That's huge, huge on being keeping you productive. It's not a general rule on how your day might unfold. It must be specific and have a time slot for absolutely everything. This includes the 7 items on your list and then everything else that you do. Now, we typically, if you're good in real estate and you're good with people, many times you're not really good at this. I wasn't really good at this. So I had to become good at this. And you can take that strength and get this strength here, and then you start to accomplish, much, much more. Okay. Top 7. So I do this still today. Every single day, everyone that works for me, okay, not every agent, of course, but everyone at HSF affiliates, they'll receive the night before my top 7. So everybody knows exactly what I'm doing. So I have the 7 most important things that I'm doing each time with timelines next to it. In fact, that's an actual email, it looks like, from September 12th. Okay, and that's actually even has everybody's name up there that we're sending it to. So that's what that is. God bless Dietrich. She just updates this thing without me even knowing it. But that's terrific. So everything I'm doing with a time frame is right there. Put the most important task first. This simple task will give you a tremendous sense of control and accomplishment. Now let's go back. Look at my first task. My first task on there all the time is my meds. Meditation. What you think about, you bring about. Exercise. Health is your wealth. Diet. You are what you eat. Who are you going to be today? That's a good one, right? And then sleep. A great quote by Lombardi. Fatigue makes cowards of us all, right? So that's number one always on my list right there. Okay, we'll go back to this. Now, challenge for you. In fact, this is an easy one because we're doing it in October, but I would challenge you to take it even further. I want you to plan the remainder of the year. So this weekend, I want you to plan out the remainder of this year. Okay? It'd be great. I'm already planning right now my entire 2019 calendar. But if you plan the remainder of this year, here's what you do. Put in every day off, vacation, holidays, birthdays, date nights, exercise sessions, doctor's appointments, everything that'll give you balance. Put that in there. And you know, right now, as we go into the fourth quarter that's going to set up our first 2 months of the year, you can get so far ahead of the game by doing that because there's going to be plenty of holidays coming in, plenty of time off, but if you plan what you're going to do, that's great. When I plan myself out for the entire year, I typically will put in first my vacation that I go on. All of the training you'll do, personally and professionally, you need to put that in there. Jeff, do we have the date for next year's event?
October 1st to the 3rd.
October 1st to the 3rd. Boom, that's in my schedule. Can't miss it. It's already in my schedule. And all of the activities from your business, role-playing, planning time, prospecting, lead follow-up, office meeting, staff meetings, all your appointments, anything you can put in there. Try to fill that entire schedule out. Star by this one. Once you've laid your schedule out for the year, never make a commitment of your time without reviewing your schedule. It can be powerful, just powerful. Simple, but powerful. Back when I had my first company, Contempo Realty, and my first office, for some reason, well, it was a long time ago, so everyone was young. So I had all these young men and women that worked for me. And back then, you know, there's no smartphones. They weren't even really using computers then. So everything was done on paper. They did an amazing thing because I believed that this would be important. So I'd order a day timer. These were the little day timer, little paper day timer that you'd put in a binder. And I'd have the weekend receptionist put in every office meeting, every company meeting, anything that had to do that we'd need support from them, and then I'd give them their schedule. I'd give them their thing and tell them, look, you got to do your business plan, do your schedule. It was incredible, and I know if there'd ever be an office like that again, because they were so disciplined on that, and it was in their schedule, and they could never make a commitment of their time without checking their schedule. I would have 100% of the agents show up for every single office meeting. And back when Jesus was a baby, we had one every week, right? We'd have a golf tournament in Sunnyvale. They'd take maybe 100 players. 72 of them would be from my office, all 72 agents. And because they signed up before everybody else and nobody else could, and they thought, there's some sort of conspiracy you've got going here with the Sunnyvale Board of Realtors that you have 72 players from your office in this golf tournament. It was just a simple thing. It was putting it in the schedule and never making a commitment of your time without checking your schedule. Okay, be on purpose and outcome driven versus distraction and emergency driven. It only happens when you have a schedule. When you don't have a schedule, your life and your business are driven by distractions and reactions. It's not a fun way to operate. It's not a productive way to operate. Remember, time management is basically self-management. to force you to stay on your schedule. Simply tell everyone about your schedule. Never been to this event or any real estate event. Where's Gordon Mills? Gordon, are you in here still? Yeah, Gordon. Yeah, there's Gordon right over there. Gordon, have we ever been at the same event and not run into each other between like 5:30 and 6:30 in the morning? Always, you know. We will, because I know Gordon's schedule, Gordon knows my schedule, and we work on a routine, and we do pretty much this exact same thing every morning. You can get infinitely more done when you do things in blocks of time, okay? Because as you know from Parkinson law, work expands to fit the time allotted, and that's the benefit, the real benefit of trying to do the thing in the block of time. You know, crazy, goofy things that you can do. I mean, even, no one watches live TV except, I guess, for sporting events now. But I can remember back in the day when I watched live TV. Now I can only do it on a sporting event. But you'd be amazed what you can get done on the commercial of a sporting event if you just plan to get up and do something useful each time. I can get myself packed for the week by watching the game. Your only job is to follow your schedule, and not following your schedule is a symptom of meaningless goals. Okay? So what's your job? Follow your schedule. Take a typically top producer, and I'm not talking about the top producer that's been in business since Jesus was a baby, and automatically they come to their desk and sit there and the phone rings and says, come list me. I'm talking about a newer agent that is an efficient business planning working machine. And if you say, hey, someone asked me back when I was that agent if they could follow me around. You know, they wanted to follow me around for the day to see what I did. I said, what's the best day? Any day. I do the same thing every day. You know, I'm going to prospect at a certain time. I'm going to do this at a certain time. I'm going to do that at a certain time. So you can come any day. So your only job is to follow your schedule. Okay. If you're really having a hard time with this, and I had a terrible hard time with time management, so I decided to keep a time log for about 3 weeks to discover how I used my time. So essentially, here's I don't know if the next slide might tell you what you do, but just if it doesn't, well, let me just see if it does. Nope. Okay, so keeping a time log. So here's what I did. Here's what improved me, because I couldn't figure out, I had no time and I had no deals. And if you have no time and no deals, you have no money, right? That's why I had that $1 bill for 6 months. So I kept a time log. So every time I'd start a task, I'd write down the time. And every time I'd do something, another task, I'd write down the time. So even if I went to the bathroom, I'd write the time down, right? And even if one of my pals called me and I talked to my pal, I'd write that time down. Then I took, okay, here's all the times. This was work. This was when I was kind of screwing off. And then you'd figure it out. Okay, that can really help you get on track by keeping a time log. Okay, if you want your dreams to come true, don't oversleep, right? Mind over mattress, right? However, don't discount the importance of sleep. So many studies now on sleep, and you'll notice when I gave you my keystone habits, my meds, meditation, exercise, diet, and sleep. Sleep is incredibly important to you. I came from Vancouver, Canada yesterday here because I had another event. Okay, our Canadians, beautiful Vancouver. I came from Vancouver, Canada here, and we had an event called Summit where we bring in our top agents, and we do that. We brought in a doctor, a famous doctor. His last name is Amen, and what this guy does is he's done more brain scans than anyone. And even athletes that have that, the brain injuries and things like that, and different patients. And he showed us all sorts of scans of brains. And then he talked about what can you do to repair your brain, which was really, really interesting. A ton of it is diet, which I never really understood. That you kind of like your gut almost controls a lot of your brain. But they would show, there was one of the athletes, Anthony Davis, which is USC, because this guy's out of Southern California. It showed his brain after football, And then 2 years later, after this diet, and really part of the diet was sleep, but just very, very interesting. The guy's name is Dr. Amen, and it was interesting what happened. But he talked about the importance of sleep. I used to think when I was brand new, I thought I didn't need to sleep that much, right? 6 hours was okay. Sometimes even 4 hours is okay. And you just don't understand kind of like what you're doing. But the good news on the whole thing, on the whole brain talk, is we can actually repair our brains. Even some of these football players that have that, traumatic injury of that. So it's very interesting. Okay. Don't oversleep, but sleep a lot. So go to bed early. Okay? Except the fact that listing appointments, obviously, or prospecting appointments are just as important as the listing appointments. You can't do one without the other. Now you're here networking. Jeff, how many do we have here this time? 550. Beautiful. That's great. There's 550 opportunities to get a referral to your area, right? And what a great thing. And so I just want to continue, even though a lot of you get referral business, prospecting is just as important as all the listing appointments there. Here's a good one for time management. Normally choice is good for us. We want to have choices, which makes sense. But when it comes to your schedule, choice is your enemy, right? When it comes to a lot of things, choice is your enemy. I can go back to my room, I can choose an apple or a Hershey bar, right? I can choose a book or the remote control. You can choose to sleep in or get up. You can choose to follow your schedule or not. So when it comes to scheduling, choice is your enemy. Getting back to prospecting, when possible, prospect first thing in the morning. Here's a few reasons why. You've got more energy, fewer distractions, more people are receptive in the morning. I found that one, at least back when I was prospecting, very important to prospect more before noon. Sometimes when I do it in the afternoon or the evening, it seemed like I called up somebody and they had a bad day. In fact, it seemed like everybody I called up had a bad day, right? And they weren't as receptive in the morning. Also, too, people that you find at home during the day are the same people that you can list and sell during the day. This can help you eliminate some night and weekend appointments, okay? So that's some reasons about prospecting. The other thing is, when you don't prospect in the morning and you get used to doing it, if you don't do it, you kind of carry around the guilt all day long, which is actually a good thing. It'd be like Gordon, if you missed a workout, you'd carry around the guilt all day long, right? Because it's such a routine for you. Okay, many agents struggle with their schedule in the afternoon because they haven't scheduled specific monitorable activities, okay? So something that they can monitor, something that they can measure. Mental toughness, what is that? Mental toughness is doing what you're supposed to do even on the days that you don't feel like it, right? Gordon, how many times did you work out on a day you really didn't feel like it, right? I know you and Troy and the gang went out the night before last. I'm sure you probably still worked out. I know last night we had the white party and then who knows what else was going on, but you worked out, right? Mental toughness, doing what you're supposed to do even on the days that you don't feel like it. Discipline, on the other hand, is the ability to make and keep promises to yourself. If you wanted to write down a little note, I'd write this down. The pain of discipline weighs ounces. The pain of regret weighs tons, right? Easy to do, easy not to do. Discipline is an amazing thing. In fact, for years, I've studied top athletes and top companies. And basically two things. The two things that they had in common was, number one, they treated their people well. It's kind of, that just makes sense. That's how you should treat people, right? And number two is they all had a culture of discipline. So when I was building all my companies, Contempo, and then Century, Intero, and now HSF affiliates, I create a vision statement, a mission statement, that we're empowering people to achieve their dreams. And then the mission is I help people achieve their goals faster than they would in my absence. And I take the 15 values, because I like that number, it fits perfect in a pyramid. And always in the middle of the pyramid, value number 11 is friendship, because you perform better friendship. And certainly with the iconic brand Berkshire Hathaway Inc., they have the trust, integrity, stability, longevity. So you got a great start there. But the purpose of me sharing this with you is I take that pyramid and I wrap it in a culture of discipline. And if you've got disciplined thought, you don't need a hierarchy. Disciplined people, you don't need bureaucracy. Disciplined action, you don't need excessive controls. And you take a culture of discipline with that ethic of entrepreneurship, and that's where you get that magical alchemy of great performance and sustained results. They're just kind of interesting how the whole piece of discipline plays into almost everything we do. Okay, 31. At the end of the day, we'll give you 38 points. You're reading books. You're learning constantly. But at the end of the day, your destiny and your business growth is your responsibility and no one else's, right? At the end of the day, if it is to be, it's up to me. I got to take action. I got to execute. Everybody's great on theory. In fact, there's another business piece that I followed that's been huge for all my businesses, but it's the 4 disciplines of execution, because nobody can really execute that well. The first discipline is focus on a wildly important goal, 1, 2, or 3 things, because if you focus on those wildly too many goals, you can't find any. It's kind of like you chase 2 rabbits, they both get away. So the first discipline is discipline of focus. The second discipline is act on the lead measures. We always are acting on lag measures. Here's what I did last month. Here's how many sales I had last month. That's a lag measure. It's too late. The lead measure is predictive and influenceable. What am I doing today to get to where I need to go? All right. The third discipline is have a compelling scoreboard. Face it. This business isn't for the weak-willed or the faint of heart, right? It's for those of us who get sick to our stomach if they're not in the top 10% of any competitive activity. So everybody needs to know where you play. We all play better when we keep score. Look at a pickup basketball game, or even playing ping pong in the garage with my kids. As soon as we're keeping score, I'm playing a little bit differently, all right? And the fourth one is to create a cadence of accountability. And that's the first 3 disciplines set up the game, but with that cadence of accountability, which is a call where you'd have your team or your accountability partners or whoever you might have on a regular call and just reporting, I committed to doing this, I did this, next month I'm doing that. So your destiny and your business growth are your responsibility and no one else. I challenge you to do this one thing. I challenge you to do this every single Monday with your accountability partner or your pal or whoever you want to do it with. But it's this. What am I doing to improve this week so I'm better this week than I was last week? I got our whole team starting to do that at HFS Affiliates, and you can't believe the personal growth that people are doing. I'm committing to drinking 100 ounces of water. I'm committed to no white. I'm committed to all these great things that help you out. Okay. Let's see. What did I say before this? Your destiny and your business growth. Here's another cool thing to do. Now, this is going way back in time. But when I was selling houses back then, that's my personal admin. Now, remember, I'm the owner of Contempo Realty. I'm the manager of the #1 branch in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I'm going to do at least 50 deals. And so that's my scorecard up there. And every time I did a deal, you'd cross it off and put it in there. So that talks about having a goal board up in front of your office. Let's see, here we go. Have a goal board up in front of your office. List the goals that you've set, the things you have to accomplish. It's kind of like a little bit messed up here. And then bottom line is 32 is have a goal board up. That'll help you, makes it visual. You're going to see it. 33 is an interesting one, and that is to have a strong accountability partner. What I'd like to do in the office was assign a different person every time. Okay? So you get a think tank, a mastermind group where you would trade off with accountability partners, and as simple as you're going to do is like, hey, what'd you say you were going to do yesterday? And then, what are you doing today? That would be accountability partner. You probably want someone that's not too sympathetic to buying into your story. right? That's why on the wig call, there's just a little box to put the number in, you know. And whenever they start with the story, I say, John, you know why the box is small? So a story won't fit in the box, right? That's specifically why. But accountability partner, and I talked to you before, you're going to play better if you're close to your team. So when we have our accountability partners on the first week of calls, during either the first call or some during the first week, I have them ask 18 questions. These are great prospecting questions when you're meeting a customer. But so what do you do? How'd you get started? Where are you originally from? What's your current family situation? What's your family situation growing up? Were you active in school? What else do you do besides work? Give me a memory that stands out. Who from your childhood had the biggest impact on you? What did that person teach you? If you looked at your life as a radar scope, there'll be highs, there'll be lows. Give me one of the highs. What does that tell you about yourself? Give me one of the lows. What got you through? If a young person was asking advice on how to live your life, what would you tell them? What does the future hold for you? And when it's all over, how do you want to be remembered? Now, I just rifled through those 18 questions that you'd never do that quick. But I got to tell you, you'd build a bond with that accountability partner. You'd build a bond with the person that you're trying to do business with, okay? And what I did to build my business was this. I would have a coffee appointment with a different customer every 30 minutes and then someone else to end it off. And the law of reciprocity made that customer want to hear the same thing from me, so you'd always get 2 appointments out of it. All right, going to wrap up real quick here. Record your numbers at the same time, allow however time you need. You should record everything you're doing during the day, okay? And here's my favorite line on being productive. When performance is measured, performance improves. When performance is measured and reported back, the rate of improvement accelerates. Say amen to that, okay? And so it's right there. Number 35 is an important one. Okay. Number 36, you can create affirmations to support your schedule. For example, my schedule is effective in bringing me results. Okay? And since this was a time, hang on. Good. I'm going to end it with this because this is kind of an interesting thing. Now, this isn't really Paul Harvey that's going to play, but we got a guy back at Intero that sounded like Paul Harvey. I think we gave him like $200, and I took my favorite poem, If by Rudyard Kipling, and we did a Realtor thing on it. So just watch this, and we're done. But thank you very much, and let me just do this first. We'll do this first, and then I'll thank you.
And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a realtor. God said, I need somebody that will get up before dawn with the dedication of the sun, risk time, energy, and investment for no salary or guarantee, work long hours on the street, prepare and deliver presentations, serve and attend to others' emergencies, then stay out past midnight at a meeting of the school board. So God made a realtor. God needed somebody mentally tough that could wake up unemployed every day, yet gentle enough to have compassion for others. Someone that can build a bridge between people and technology. Someone to arrive home nightly in the dark to accommodate others' time, tell them, thank you for the opportunity, and mean it. So God made a realtor. God said, I need somebody that can sell like Carnegie, make contacts and write contracts, handle objections and deal with rejections, and who can finish her 40-hour week by Wednesday noon, then weary from contingencies and people's eccentricities and volatilities, put in another 40 hours and sacrifice a weekend too. So God made a realtor. God needed somebody that does not measure their work in hours, but by the satisfaction of their clients, someone to handle emotions unemotionally, to meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same. God said, I need somebody strong enough to knock doors and be ignored, direct mail and email, run ads, deliver notepads, Yelp and blog and work like a dog, make calls and get up from falls, and who will stop her efforts when called upon to mend the broken spirit of a colleague or client. So God made a realtor. It had to be somebody who'd honor ethics and integrity and not cut corners, to keep their head when all about them are losing theirs, and trust themselves where others doubt. Someone that can hold on when there is nothing left inside except the will which says, hold on. Who'd laugh and then sigh, and then respond with smiling eyes when her son says he wants to spend his life doing what Mom does. So God made a realtor.
All right, to the realtor and all of us, thank you very much, guys. Keep doing what you're doing.
I don't know how Gino got that picture of me standing in my mother's shoes, but